1. Need some help here. I feel like I might be doing too much, but this is just nasty and I'm already annoyed. I have a roommate. For this story, we're going to call him Bob. He rents the bedroom directly next to mine. We share a bathroom, 2 sinks, and I share a kitchen and living room with Bob as well as the other 2 people who rent here. The other 2 are pretty quiet people. We're all uni students, and I believe they're both doing pre-med. So I don't see them a lot, but they're as neat and tidy as you could expect a couple of college-age boys to be. Bob is a different story. Bob is a sophomore student. I don't know what his major is exactly. I think it may be something IT related. But I do know it has nothing to do with being clean. He's a mess. First week of living here, we were forced to sign a roommate agreement that goes over some rules for living together. Bob spent the meeting talking about respect and being such a chill, good roommate while I stared at his dirty dishes I had just washed. I never washed them again. Following the fruit fly crapple infestation nightmare I talked about in a previous post, I was able to trace it back and discovered it was Bob's banana, by the way. I cleaned the entire apartment. Since I was the only one here, I thought yeah, I'm cleaning it for me, and when they come back I won't clean anymore. Which makes sense, right? I can't live in a mess like that anyway, so I cleaned. Spent an entire day doing ridiculous things like scrubbing out my shower and wiping back behind the toilet. Prior to cleaning it, the entire bathroom smelled like urine. Anyway, after all that, I got about 2 days to enjoy the apartment on my own, before who should come back but Bob. Comes in at 8 at night, with a basket of laundry, and the whole hell begins over again. Loudly, playing video games in his room, screaming at the screen, taking phone calls in the common areas, and answering the person on the other end of the line as loudly as he possibly can. The first thing he did when he came home was take a 3-minute shower. Don't ask me why, but the dude left his bath towel in there again, and bath mat was on the floor again. He baffles me. I wake up this morning at about 7:30 a.m. to Bob's video games again. He is shouting and I can hear him through the wall. If he didn't wake me up, he's certainly guaranteed that I won't be going back to sleep this morning. I completely forgot to mention the toilet paper standoff. This dude has bought toilet paper a grand total of 1 time since moving in here in August. I have bought multiple bulk packs. I really hate to run out of toilet paper. Call it a weird quirk, but I want to be able to wipe my butt appropriately and fully. So about a month ago my toilet paper supply ran out, and since I had bought the last 2 packs, these are like Costco bulk packs of TP mind you, I refused to buy any more. I walked into the bathroom a day later, and instead of TP sitting on top of the toilet paper was a roll of paper towels. Guys, he has been using paper towels since we ran out of TP. Even the paper towels have run out a few times and been replaced again by rolls of more paper towels from the kitchen. Not mine, though. I have to tell you guys about the thermostat. I feel like every roommate has a problem with the thermostat at some point, and as this is my first time living with roommates, I assumed there would be some tension. People like different temperatures in their living space, and I was willing to compromise on that. I know I like my room fairly warm, around 71, 72 is my ideal temp in the winter, but my girlfriend likes to keep it at 69, AC or heat, year-round, because she swears that's where the temperature is best. Shoot me, I don't care. As long as I'm not shivering in bed at night, and I don't wake up in a puddle of my own sweat, it's fine. Our thermostat moves around a bit, but between me and the other 2 roommates, we've been able to live comfortably at 71 on heat this winter. Bob, for some reason, cannot live unless the AC is blasting. Every time he comes home from somewhere, he changes the thermostat to 67, blasting AC. Now, before you jump to the comments to ask me, I live in the Midwestern US. Imagine the Windows 7 desktop wallpaper. That's basically what my home state looks like. Now, in the Midwest, it gets very cold in the winter. It usually snows, and being that I moved here from out of state, I'm definitely not used to it being 20 degrees every morning when I go outside. Even if I wasn't used to that kind of cold, who turns on their air conditioning in December? Every time he does it, I go back out there and turn it off. If he's hot, open a window. There's way more than enough cold out there. I don't want to freeze to death in my own bedroom, thank you very much. I've caved a few times and cleaned his mess in the kitchen. It's trashed within a week. Food wrappers, dishes, I could probably lay out his whole meal routine here, just because he leaves everything out so often. And the crazy part is that I know it's just him now. The other two roommates share a bathroom and sink area as well. It's perfectly clean. They just don't want anything to do with it. Unfortunately, I share a living space with him, so I've been forced to deal with this since day one. I don't even know how one person can make so much mess on their own, but he has had guests over a lot that are probably also contributing to it. Of course, I don't care if he has friends or girls over, but I did mention in my last post that there's a new girl in here about once a week. My girlfriend is here all the time, so again, I don't really care. It's just really weird coming out of my room to find myself face to face with a random girl from my English class. I feel like we've all seen 1,000 of these posts. So here's where I'm really having an issue. I've told him to clean up his stuff. I've even had the housing people call him to tell him to clean up. I've sent pictures and documented everything he leaves out and trashes, but it really doesn't do anything because he's also on the lease and he technically hasn't violated it by being a disgusting mess. He just doesn't care about it. I've accepted that I'm going to have to tough it out until he moves out, which will be in May. Unless he chooses to extend the lease, then I'll be stuck with him for another year. I don't want to get him off the lease because I honestly can't. But I do know I can do whatever I can while we're here to make his living situation as bad as he's made mine. Back in the day, in my home country, I would beat the crap out of him and this problem would stop. But that's not really as effective here. I have to live in a room next door to him, and I don't think he would take it so well. I am also working on a career in a high-profile sector, so keeping my record very clean is a priority. If anyone has any ideas on how to deal with this nonsense, non-destructive, it's a rental so I can't damage the house or anything, please let me know. I'm all ears. Hellfreezer's note, as far as the temperature thing goes, that's easily rectified by Bob buying a good fan. A pedestal fan or a floor fan would do. Don't get a tower fan, they're not very good, I find. I would tend to vote for the floor fan as they're a bit more powerful, so he can have the room temperature at whatever he likes. And the rest of you can keep the house comfortably warm. I'm one of those weirdos who needs a fan on all year round, regardless of the temperature, just because I like the air circulating. At least at night while I'm sleeping. As far as the mess goes, have you tried having a conversation with him about it? Sometimes a nice chat over a cup of tea, I am British, so tea, might be just what you need to kind of clear the air, make him aware of what the problem is. That is assuming, of course, he doesn't literally know what the problem is. I'm not sure if this is Bob's first time living away from home too, but it could just be that he's not used to having to keep things tidy, and a bit of patience, not beating him up. Choosing to not beat him up was a really good idea on your part. Because, well, as adults, we cannot solve our problems with violence, although it would be really satisfying in the moment. When we're done, we just have 2 problems. I hope it works out for you guys, and that he doesn't renew in May. 2. I've been recovering in a sober living room for about a year, and decided it was finally time to find a place of my own. I'm 25 years old and don't have much rental history and make money from Uber, so my pay isn't consistent. With these 2 factors in mind, I wasn't getting approved for the apartments I could afford due to needing extensive rental history. 3 times the rent in my pay stubs. We don't get pay stubs with Uber, it's all virtual and in the moment, pay per ride, with additional funds being sent every 2 weeks to compensate for the lack of pay Uber drivers get, aka Prop 22. Anyways, I found a room for rent situation that allowed me to stay, and I'm super grateful it's down the street from my parents and family. It was stated $500 a month for everything. And it was this old lady and her son living there, with her little dog, that she made seem was her baby. I noticed the place was messy, but they assured me it's because the cleaning lady hasn't been around in a while, and everything will get sorted out. I pretty much kept to myself and was polite out of survival mode. Mind you, I had nowhere else to go at this point. Well, Not only 2 months into living here, the old lady tells me her health is declining and she's not making enough to keep up the rent, and I would probably have to move in another 2 months. Mind you, I just got here and moved over everything I owned and was just starting to feel settled. At the time, my boyfriend of 2 years had to leave his place to live and was looking for a place to stay at the time, and her and I devised a plan to have him stay here as well and contribute $465 for Xfinity. The 65 was their idea, in order to be able to continue paying the rent and keep everyone living here. Since then, things have gotten out of control. The old lady stayed at the hospital for a month and had her dog stay here with her son. Her dog has ruined the carpets and soiled them over time and pee. The son who lives here is in his 30s, doesn't handle chores, and the dog that was seemingly left for him to care for, or anything related to helping his mother when times have gotten harder for her health-wise. We've been cleaning, taking the dog out to potty, trash cans, etc., managing the house while she's away. Well, we get told she's not coming back after all, and is going to live with her sister, and the son tells us in order to stay, we have to split the bill 3 ways, which totals just us as a couple to share this tiny room upstairs. We decided to take that on, under the understanding we could take the master room with a private bath downstairs, and pretty much take over the house considering we are now paying most of the bills, which means getting it back into shape, as the dining table is flooded with her paperwork, items all over counters randomly, and a dog that has the downstairs smelling of ammonia and nasty. So as a couple, we treated the carpets, cleaned the counters, got the house feeling like home again. Well, randomly, she returned from the hospital. She's now stating she's not really sure if she's leaving or not, to have her sister care for her, and that she'll need a month to think about it. She has her other son, who's maybe in his 50s, living in our common space, making huge messes, and had the TV on all night while he sleeps on the couch, I guess to watch her, since she's too old to be left alone. But he does nothing to help her, as I have her asking me to help her with everything down to getting her groceries and changing the channel on the TV for her because she's too confused. And they keep eating my damn food. Look, I'm empathetic to an old woman dying, but I can't stand how messy and unpredictable this situation is. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be paying because we have no idea if we have 3 or 4 people living here. A random son is now living on the couch as a crappy helper, and we have to eat in our rooms in bed. It just feels like we're getting played now, and the conditions aren't worth it. The crazy part is, this is a nice house in a nice neighborhood. I feel lucky to be here in the first place, but too good to be true, I suppose. Anyways, I don't know what to do. My boyfriend and I feel like these people are so inconsiderate, and the sons aren't doing their job to mitigate, as the one son who lives here wants his mom to stay, when clearly she needs round-the-clock care, and is disrupting the peace and flow of the house. Internally, her stuff is everywhere. If you've listened this far, what do I do? Hellfreezer's note, I think it's quite obvious you and your partner need to get out of there. I mean, if you're able to pay the $1,400 a month, surely that should get you guys a place somewhere else. I say that not knowing what the prices are where you live. As for proving your income, okay, you don't have pay stubs, but you should be able to access bank statements, that sort of thing. Effectively, you are self-employed. I mean, not really, we know, but effectively you're self-employed. So that should be a way to prove your income, no problem. And I would also dig around in groups for Uber drivers and the like. You can't be the only person who's had this kind of problem in finding a place to live. There might be other drivers there who can give you advice on what to do in that situation. But your priority is get out of there as soon as possible, as soon as you can find a nice place, because you and your partner are very much being taken advantage of. 3. Story time. I need to vent. I had to secure an apartment a while ago and needed to find 2 people ASAP, so I didn't have the luxury of interviewing a lot of people. These 2 came as a pair, they're friends, and it turns out they suck. They're similar in all the worst ways, and bear in mind, they're in their late 20s, so there's no excuse for them to be acting like this. When we first moved in, they broke the HVAC system twice in the first week because they wouldn't stop fighting over it. We had the thermostat set at 72, but one of them kept turning it way up and the other kept turning it down. No communication, just passive-aggressive fighting. Both times they broke the heat, they acted like guilty kids, silently pretending nothing had happened so they wouldn't have to own up to it. I had to send out a group text and let them know that the heat was broken and I was contacting maintenance to fix it, twice. And then I had to initiate a house meeting to talk about how we could compromise on the thermostat temperature, because that's what you do when you're the parent of 2 fighting siblings. One of them always kidnaps stuff to her room, the broom, the step stool, even the coffee maker, and forgets to put it back until asked about it. And the other one wants to believe it's me so that she doesn't have to blame her friend. I've never done this before with anything, not even once. This is not a behavior I have. They're both passive-aggressive and completely terrified to say anything out loud, so whenever I sense brewing tension between them, I have to ask questions like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And then figure out what the hell it is, and then mediate between them. They expect other people to read their minds because they lack the communication skills to speak up. One of them thought I was keeping dishes in my room for a while, and it took me weeks to figure out that was why she was being passive-aggressive to me. And to clarify that I did not have dishes in my room, it was her friend. Big surprise. We got together and set up house rules and cleaning schedules when we first moved in, but each of them tries to shirk their responsibilities whenever it's their turn. You know the type. We've all had roommates like this before. They just conveniently forget to do the cleaning, or take out the recycling when it's their turn, or they do a really crappy job because they want to manipulate someone else to do it for them. I have to find them in person and remind them, almost every single time, so that I don't end up doing the cleaning for them. It's kind of like training a dog. It takes a lot of consistency and repetition and boundary setting. The 2 of them share a bathroom by their own choice, and they decided early on not to set up a cleaning schedule for it. They thought it would be okay somehow. Now every time we have a roommate meeting together, they talk about setting up a bathroom cleaning schedule between the 2 of them. But this has been going on for several roommate meetings in a row. Obviously, neither of them wants to take responsibility and make the damn schedule or clean the damn bathroom. I can tell there's tension brewing between them. They usually like to pretend I am the problem when they have an issue with anything, so I'm just going to let this bathroom thing fester between them. Eventually, one of them will kill the other one in her sleep, and that's just fine with me. 4. How to destroy a lifelong friendship. Move in together. Hey all, I thought I would share this story as I still feel I have not received closure on it, and thought I could express my feelings here with this community. My friendship with my best friend since the 6th grade was destroyed by my decision to move in with him, his girlfriend, and her mother. My mind continues to go over each cringe-worthy instance that I went through, and I hope to gain some outside perspective. Maybe you can learn something. Never move in with your friend. Me and my friend Haribo had always wanted to live together. We believed that we could make each other better people if we lived together. I believe things would have worked out okay if it was just us 2, but of course, a girl came in the picture and changed everything. Things between them blossomed very quickly, and they have lived together themselves after dating for only 2 weeks. He really wasn't my friend after that, as we went from hanging out almost every day to seeing each other probably once a month once they got serious. Fast forward a few months, and he asked me if I wanted to go in with the 2 of them on a place for cheap rent. I said yes, of course, how could I not? I was excited, until he told me that the girlfriend's mother would also be moving in for half-time. That's it, no conversation. Okay. My mindset here would be that they simply would be roommates, but nothing more. God, how I was wrong. Let's get into the nitty-gritty and go over every silly thing that happened. She wouldn't let me bring in any kitchen appliances or furniture, only her utensils and furniture, etc. I bought a $120 piece of meat to celebrate her mother coming into town, and all she can say is, "I'm not a pork person." I would keep the kitchen impeccable and be on my hands and knees almost daily making sure things were perfect. No recognition. They all 3 thought I had autism, and my friend genuinely asked me if I did. They probably thought I did because I was so awkward around them, because I was scared to death to say something wrong. Hard-boiled eggs on the kitchen stove for 3 days. I'm not perfectly clean and it didn't bother me, but if that was something I did, I would be crucified for it. My friend brought up to me the fact that they heard me moaning in my room all the time. False and embarrassing. Here's the big one. One fateful afternoon, I got my sulfur soap in my eye, and it hurt like hell. I was yelling, "Ow! Ow! God damn it!" This sets the mother off, who's in her room next door, storms downstairs, and tells my friend and her daughter that I was masturbating in the shower. I confronted her, trying to explain, but she wasn't having any of it. Told me there was no way it wasn't that act, she thought, and forced me to apologize for something I didn't do. I didn't apologize, and had to go for a drive to process what just happened. This was the last nail in the coffin, and only 1 week later they told me I was out. She called me an effing creep and told me to leave. My friend not saying anything with a tear in his eye. I had to go. I was happy to get out of that hellhole. Next weekend I moved out, and me and my friend haven't talked since. There are so many more little things that happened, but these are the bigger ones. After typing all this up, it's clear to me that the root of all this was an evil girlfriend, but truly, it is a friend with no backbone. He was always a slave to his women. I feel stupid for thinking it was a good idea, but nothing would have changed my mind before going into this. Haven't had anyone to really talk to about this since he was kind of my only friend. 5. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate, Emily. We've been living together for about 6 months, and while we're not best friends, things have always been pretty chill between us. Emily is super low-key, and since she's gay and in a committed relationship, I've never had to deal with random guys showing up or sketchy situations. I thought I had it good, until now. Over the holidays, I went back to my parents' place for 2 weeks. Before I left, I did my usual routine, cleaned my room, took out the trash, and made sure everything was in order because I hate coming back to a messy apartment. I didn't think anything of it when Emily offered to water my plants while I was gone. It seemed like a normal, considerate roommate thing to do. When I got back, the first red flag hit me the second I opened my door. My room didn't feel right. I noticed a faint smell, like stale cologne and sweat. Weird, because obviously I hadn't been in there in 2 weeks. I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was just stuffy from being closed up for so long. Then I noticed my bed. The sheets were rumpled like someone had been sleeping in it. That's when I started to get suspicious. I looked around and saw little things that didn't add up. A water bottle on my nightstand that wasn't mine. The window slightly cracked open when I always leave it closed, and worst of all, the trash can by my bed had used condoms in it. 2 of them. At this point, I was freaked out. I knew it couldn't have been Emily. She's a lesbian, and her girlfriend was out of town for the holidays too. There was no reason for any of this to be happening, so I confronted her. When I asked her straight up if someone had been in my room while I was gone, she looked caught off guard. After a few seconds of awkward silence, she admitted that she had sublet my room to a friend for a few nights while I was gone because he needed a place to crash, and she figured it wouldn't be a big deal since I wasn't there. She didn't even ask me. Just decided on her own that it was fine to let some random guy sleep in my bed. I lost it. I asked her who the guy was, and she got defensive, saying it was just a friend of her girlfriend's who really needed a place for a few days. She tried to downplay it like it wasn't a huge deal, but I was livid. Someone has been in my personal space, sleeping in my bed, and clearly hooking up with someone in there. I told her it was disgusting and completely out of line. But she kept brushing me off, saying, "It's not like anything got stolen or broken." I asked her if she cleaned my room after he left, and she admitted she hadn't, which explained the state I found it in. She didn't even apologize properly, just kept saying she didn't think I'd care. Now, I don't know what to do. Moving out isn't really an option right now because of our lease. But I can't stand the thought of living with someone who thinks it's okay to let strangers use my room without permission. I don't trust her anymore, and honestly, I'm still grossed out by the whole thing. I'm considering telling our landlord, or even asking if I can break the lease early, but I'm not sure that's possible. Has anyone else dealt with something like this before? How did you handle it? Am I overreacting? Or is this as messed up as it feels? Update 1. I bought a new doorknob today that locks on both sides. It requires a code or key to unlock from the outside, providing extra security. 2. I'm planning to purchase a camera for my room. So if anyone has brand recommendations, I'd really appreciate your suggestions. 3. I'm currently crashing at my cousin's house until my room is deep cleaned. 4. I talked to my roommate and she is using the money she made subletting my room to have it deep cleaned, and she is paying 2 weeks of my rent this month. 5. I will be speaking to my landlord tomorrow about what happened, and I am in the process of looking for a new place. I want to thank everyone for the advice you've shared. It's been very helpful. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 49. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, I would appreciate it if you would hit the like button, and subscribe if you'd like to get more videos in your inbox. That's generally how YouTube does it. And also please do support me on my Patreon page, which is linked for you in the description. Even $1 a month, it all mounts up. Okay. No other business today, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: in the morning, are you a tea, a coffee, or a water or a juice person? What helps you get the day started? Lately, this is very, very naughty, I shouldn't say this. I've been having a few days where I've needed the caffeine jolt to get me going, so I've actually had an energy drink to get me started. That's not habitual, I don't do that all the time. Usually I'd either have water or a smoothie. I'm trying to gradually nudge myself into getting back into making smoothies because it doesn't take long to make them. It's just a matter of actually getting up just after I've woke up and tolerating the sound of the blender. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this one came from Bad Roommates 47 and was: how do you feel about smart homes? Today's answer comes from Avery Satos. I have a smart bulb in my bedroom, but I plan to do this for the living room also. It works with Alexa. You can change your call word from Alexa and should. I did. Mine's computer. I have this because it's much easier than me turning the lights on and off. The switch is on the far side of the room. I would just suffer with the light on all night instead because I couldn't move. I'm all for voice automated stuff, but I also have a recording of me making these commands on the phone for when I'm unable to speak. It takes less time than going into the app. That's actually very, very clever, Avery. I hadn't thought of that. I do really like my smart stuff. It's especially good for, like, just if I suddenly just want to change the color of the lighting. I tend to just adjust the lighting throughout the night based on whatever mood I'm in. So it could be blue, green, whatever. Sometimes red, depending. And I find that it really is good for helping my state of mind. And it's also nice being able to just turn the lights off and on when I'm in bed instead of having to brave the cold. I mean, I guess I could put the lamp a little closer to the bed, but I guarantee you I would knock it over in the middle of the night if I did that. Thank you very much for your answer, Avery Satos. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.